in terms of fragility and sort of exposing oneself, it's one thing to play, it's another thing to write songs and present them in your voice. I wonder if you each could talk about that. Do you remember the first song you wrote and what that was like, and what motivated you to decide that I have something to say and I can share it with people?
My very first composition was, it was just music, and it was on a pump organ we had. I was probably 7 or 8, and you know, pumping away, you know, I'm just sitting there. My mom was cleaning, and I can't remember the melody, but it was something very melancholic, and it made me very sad. And I never forget that feeling that something I did here made me feel something, and I got really hooked on that. And I remember later, you know, a couple of minutes into that pump, you know, it could have been anything. Now you're searching. My mom comes up, she's cleaning. This is a true story. Pow, she hits it. Be quiet! Well, that one note stuck. I kept pumping. But that's actually my first composition. Yeah, it was a good one. And she laughed too. She's like, darn, that didn't come out quite like I planned it.
What about yourself, Luke?
You know, I said earlier, I wasn't a natural musician, even though I wanted to be a guitar player. I wasn't a natural singer or a musician. But my gift was a creative process, like a creative thing. Like I used to paint, and I did a lot of painting and sculpture, and that creative process, I can apply it to whatever I want to do. If I have to do some writing, or I have to write a song, or put an album together, or do a bio or a package or art, you know, it's like I have a thing that I can do to whatever the task at hand is. So early on, that Dad saw that I had a knack for songwriting. At least he thought so, and I enjoyed it. So that's why I started singing, because it wasn't ever my plan to sing, but once you start writing songs, or also it's a taste thing. It's like, no, I want to play these songs, so I guess I got to sing them, you know? You know, it's that thing. So songwriting for me has always been there. It's actually that's why we started the Hardly Can Playboys, is because I had some songs, and we went and tried and record them, and Dad was like, oh, God, I got to teach him. But the very first song, I don't remember singing it, but they said I was a little kid, and it was called Too Big. And that's all it was. It was just the 2 words. But that was my song. I would go around just a little kid looking at everything. It's like, it's all too big, too big, too big. But then, I don't know, lots of different silly songs, punk songs, lots of songs about, you know, when you're a kid, at least for me, you know, and you start getting tangled up inside. I wrote a lot of songs about sex, and you know, since I wasn't getting any, I just wrote a lot of loud songs about girls. But we don't hear those anymore. It's out of print.
Right, well, now we hear songs about your wife wanting you to mow the lawn.
I'm working on my new record, man. It's so funny, because, you know, it's like you write songs and you can't control what songs come out of you. I can't. You know, it's like you write them and you foster, you know. But then you can't control your output by selecting what songs you put where. But all the new songs it's like gonna be my family record, you know.
In your forthcoming record, I know we have a piece in Relix where we talk about, you know, you're in the studio, and you mentioned that I think you had 80 songs that just seems extraordinary. I mean, 80 songs. I mean, were you actively committed to, I'm going to write as many as I can? Did they just crop up naturally, and then you sort of win them out? Can you just talk about that? That struck me. I do have to say.
Yeah, I think. First, I wasn't thinking about it much. I started in May. We played a songwriter festival in Key West right after Jazz Fest. And I wrote the first song that I thought, this could be something. It's actually Space Dust.
Wow.
And I was like, this seems like something interesting. This is not where I usually go. And then I wrote another one on that kind of stayed there. And then I kept going to the beach and rode my bike to the lake. And I walked by the lake, and I drove to Bay St. Louis, and we went back to Key West, and I went to California, and then, so it ended up being all these things, and each time I was in motion by the ocean, that's a good rhyme right there, it seemed like something would come out. So after about 2-3 months of that, through the summer, I started to have just, oh my goodness, that looks like a lot of songs. Then I went back to the memo, and then about 15 other little snippets of ideas from the past showed up that I recalled, and they came back on my memo on the phone. Start looking, and I went, what if I write literally as much as I possibly can? So there was a turning point, as much as I can. And if I work on all these, because I like to work on a lot of songs at the same time. I'm not a one song at a time type of guy usually. I like to have lots of siblings so that I can, that way I don't get so, I don't get stuck as much. I just move in a couple of sentences, a little bit, go to the next song, go to the next song. And you move around like this. Sometimes you can place them around in the room and different instruments. So you have that guitar for this for that, and you move in a capo. So what you do is you keep like this very natural flow. It's almost like playing a set, but there's just little snippets of songs. So back to what you were asking, what I thought was, if I bring in an abundance of songs that they're finished, I'm not gonna work it out in the studio. I'm not gonna tinker. I'm not gonna do any of that. I'm gonna have finished an abundance of songs. I wonder what kind of record I would make. So that's kind of what I set out to do. So we walked in, there was about 80 songs. Me and the producer I called Mark Howard, who helped me out, who's an amazing engineer, a very sensitive producer, is great with vocals. He has a way of just making singers sound important. I don't know how he does it, but I love what he does. Very natural artist. And so we went from there, we went down to about 40. We cut that down. That's not finished, that's not finished, that doesn't sound right. But we got to 40. And I said, okay, so let's just start from the beginning and just record once and see how many we can do the next week or two. So we just cut 35 songs, and we didn't stop and think about if it was good or bad. We just kept cutting. And that process, it was new to me. But what happened was, in the end, it's pretty simple to go, these 12 fit, or actually, these 14 kind of fit together. They seem to be the same. And then you work on that a little bit. Those two are too dark compared to those 12. Take those out. And then we got left with 12 that just went, these are like made for each other. Rather than come in with 15 and we need that one song, which is very common, or you come in with 8 and you're trying to work up a couple, and then which is another process, which is great too.
Fans supported that album through a pledge, which was, I guess I'd be interested, well, first off, what was that like? What led to that decision? But then what the status is when that album's gonna come out. People would love to know that.
This was a management call. I'm a little bit more old school. I like, here's a record deal, here's the money, make the record. And he said, well, things have changed. Plus, it would be great for you to own your own master, and you can do whatever you want with it. You can sell it, you can keep it, start a label. You can make the record exactly like you want. You can even start thinking about artwork, all kinds of stuff. So I said, all right. So that was the idea. So we started it. The pledge was great. I got a new boat. I got it. No.
The record's coming.
Yeah, but the record is, because of the way it turned out, it was supposed to be out for Jazz Fest. But then this came up, and the record that ended up being the final 12, it feels like a late summer record, because I wrote most of the songs over the course of May through October. So I think I want to release it for August, September, right there.
In terms of upcoming albums, we have the Word album.
Yes.
14 years and change since the self-titled debut. Can you talk? How did that? What led all of you back into the studio to record again?
The time was just right. We would get together over the years and do occasional shows, but the time was just right. And also we have a family friend, Bill Bentley, who works at Vanguard Records. And he really, he came to us and said, let's do a Word record. And he and Robert also are old friends and have a relationship, and both of us trust Bill. And they encouraged us, and we're so excited because it was just a magical recording session. You know, we recorded the first half in New York, and that was great. Like Robert had some hymns he wanted to do, some ideas. We had some originals, but then the second half of the record we recorded in Memphis, which is, as Medeski said, it's a nice balance. That's the band. You have New York and you have Memphis, and that's the band. We took the guys to Royal Studio, Willie Mitchell's studio, where they cut all the Al Green hits, all the Ant Peebles hits, the O.V. Wright hits. It's a soul music mecca that hasn't changed at all. And Boo Mitchell, Willie Mitchell's grandson, who he adopted as his son, anyway, he keeps the studio alive. It's so vibrant. They just had Memphis's first #1 hit in decades with the Uptown Funk You Up record. You know, that was done there. And it's an awesome studio. So Robert came down there and just blossomed, man. He was on fire. It's like he cut 3 songs. John and I were upstairs doing post-production on New York, and Cody and Robert and Chris just like knocked out 3 songs like that. And then we tinkered around for a day, and then the next day, Willie Mitchell's daughters were saying, we're gonna make y'all some soul food. Y'all just wait till Sunday. We're gonna hook you up. They're all healthy. Healthy soul food. You're not even gonna believe it. And we're like, all right, cool. Well, they laid it out, man. And I haven't heard a room, such a happy room of just hooting and hollering and laughing and talking. And I won't mention who, but one fella ate 3 huge plates of black-eyed peas. You know, he's like, how'd you make these black-eyed peas? So the soul food. And then after that, Robert was like, we gotta go play. Let's go. We gotta play right now. So we went in there and we did the Soul Food Part 1 and 2 improvisation. And Boo, but he's such a great producer. But you can hear him on the record plugging in mics, and you know, it's like he got the whole thing. But and that's the album title, Soul Food. You know, and that's what the word is best at this point. We've grown to a place collectively and individually where we can do this type of ensemble improvisation that is unlike anything I participate in. And it's my favorite thing. You know, I'm a musical anarchist, deconstructionalist. That's what I love, is that moment of creation. And it's so great with the word. And it's not, I was talking to Bill Bentley, and it's not jazz. It's not jazz improv. It's more church-oriented. Once again, where it's just like you just let it come. You know, you have the faith, and you just let it come, and you follow, and you try and keep your ego down and just be a part of this thing. And you know, Robert's a master musician, you know, and Cody's so great. You know, Cody can follow Robert's cues, and it's just like, here we go, boom. And so half of the record is straight improv, and that's really the heart of the record. So it's super. And playing, just hanging out with Medeski is just a highlight always. So, and what's also awesome is that Chris Chu rejoined us. You know, it's been almost 3 years since he left the band. And, you know, he's healthy, he's happy, and it's so much fun playing together. And he's a gospel musician. It's perfect. And because of all of our years playing together, he knows he's such a great, the chemistry is perfect for improv.